Well, Mark, another of these big days out, and they've been going well for you over recent weeks. You've really made the most of them, and another great opportunity, really.
I know what a finish to the season playing all these games at once. When we looked at the start of the year, you always knew what a run of games we had towards the end, but it's kept the season alive for us really and give us a real focus going into those games. So yeah, it's definitely one to look forward to. I think at the beginning of the year, you always know that, and you never know at that point what the situation for both teams is when you arrive there. But we go into it knowing that for us, we can try and get the best out of the experience and know how good we've got to be. But with Sunderland in the position they're in, expect there to be some atmosphere and some experience for us, and we have to thrive in that environment, but also use the experiences we've had so far. We've had those scenarios a few times, and we've had a couple of good results on the road recently. So I'll try and hit that performance level again and see if we can throw another surprise out there.
Yeah, it's made it really interesting that not only are you playing these big away games, but right in the thick of the promotion battle, to a certain extent, you've dented both Ipswich and Wigan, and you have the chance to do that again.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's not so much our motivation, but I guess that is the product of those results or the outcome. I think our motivation really is to do our thing and to win games and to perform and to learn from games for ourselves and for our own development and for our own memories in a season. I think that's what, every time you put a team together, you want to be competitive, you want some success together, and you also just want to make sure that you create some memories together. So whether that's us as a team or for supporters, this is the potential to be one of those. But having played in a few this year and fallen on the right side and the wrong side of those results, we know how hard these games are and how well you've got to play. So it's never a given, but it's certainly, I know, one to look forward to. And I think there are a lot of twists left, albeit with 2 games to go. You look at the top of the league, it is an incredible race that's going on at the moment. And I'll be honest, it brings back some flashbacks to last year of how hard the last part is to get across the line, and the stress that builds in that period amongst your players, amongst your supporters, amongst your team and your staff. And to not be in that position ourselves is great. And hopefully that reflects the right way for us in terms of how we perform. Knowing that Sunderland will be at the very top of their game, no doubt, because of what they've got to play for.
Yes, one of the amazing things about this run of games that Wigan, Ipswich, Sunderland as well, that promotion battle is so keenly contested. They've all been in really good runs of form. What do you make of Sunderland as a side?
Well, look, I think they're probably at this level longer than they wanted to be and hoped they would be and probably should be for what they've got. And there's been a few versions of themselves over their League One era in terms of managers, and again, another change this year. But since they've made the change, they've shown some real consistency. They've won a lot of games late on, scored a lot of late goals. They've been harder to beat. I think they've got. It's like all these teams. You look at the squads that they've got. You write their team up, and you look at the options that they've got. They're players that are certainly top players at this level, but most of them have played or have got the potential to play or the experience of playing in levels above. And that's what we come up against all the time. That doesn't mean you can't compete with them. Over 46 games, you'd certainly expect them to be ahead of you. But over the odd occasion, we played them early in the season at our place. It was a really close run game that basically a corner decided, because it was the windiest day in the world and there was tons of corners for everyone towards the south stand, and they managed to score from one. So it was a terrible game, really, but it was a really close game and we were competitive against them then. And we'll have to try and do the same again. But there's no doubt they've got real talent in their team, players that have moved for big money in the past, players that have scored a lot of goals or just had very good careers or have got the potential to have them. And, I think when you play at a club like Sunderland, or we've seen it against a few teams, it's a heavy shirt to wear because the expectations are so big. And therefore that can sometimes take its toll. But I think in recent weeks, they're finding really good consistency and form at a time when you need it at this stage of the season. The problem is there's a lot of teams doing that, or teams above them that have lost a little bit of rhythm, have got the cushion. So it's going to go to the wire. And I'm sure for them, this game's a pivotal one and one they look at and think, right, we need 3 points from this one. Because this will set us up nicely for the last weekend. It's their last home game of the season in the 46 games. And I think it will be a brilliant occasion to be part of. And if we can ruin a party and cause a surprise, of course, we'd love to do that.
Overall, how pleased are you with this final part of the season, in that you got your job done and you've been heading in the right direction for quite a while? I think you mentioned that psychologically, inevitably, that starts to pose its own challenges, but you've really risen to all of that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I do understand why people would frame the not a lot to play for part. But then there's no point in having a league table, because by definition, you're then just saying you're either in the playoffs or you just survive. And then the 10, 12 places between that become irrelevant. And there's no point having a table if that's the case. I think it's really relevant. And I think the mindset should be that you're always playing for something. There's always positions to play for, future to play for, your own experience and development to play for. We're novices at this level. These aren't experiences we're rich in having, and we have to use them and make the most of them all the time, because we've seen what can happen if not. So I think the mindset that we've got to try and create here is every game's important. I think we've done that throughout 2 years. You know, people have said it about cup competitions in the past, about things not carrying value and weight and not being important, and I think it's nonsense. I think if we want to be a good club, and we want to sustain some success and keep some momentum, every time you wear the shirt, you've got to perform. And you've got to try and help us win. And we know where we are. We know that won't always be possible. But the mindset to create a winning mentality and have that pride and professionalism in playing for us is what we've got to do. And I think we've adopted that recently in recent years. And we want to try and continue that as a mindset, because it just becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it just becomes us. And that's what we want to be. It's what we want to be known for. We don't want to be a soft touch. We don't want to be an inconsistent team. We don't want to be on our day, we're a good side, but our day doesn't come very often. In the last 2 years, our day's been quite often, and we've got to make sure we keep trying to become that and improve that. On our day, we're better, but still a good level from us happens more often than not.
With the team news, how's Harrison Dunk getting on?
Yeah, Harrison's done, I'm afraid, for the season. He won't play a part in the next few games. He split his shin. He's had some stitches. So he's just off for a couple of weeks, really off the grass from waiting for that to heal. So no chance of him playing in any of these 2 games, which is frustrating, because I think he looked at the 2 away games and thought, one, he's earned the right to play them, but they're also games you definitely want to play in as a player. The boys are itching to get back out on the pitch this weekend. So for Harrison, that's frustrating. It's disappointing because he's done so well. Obviously, Jack comes in and is a top player, so he'll cover that position well. But Harrison will, we won't see him again now for the next couple of weeks, until maybe the back end of next week. He'll obviously be at the Cheltenham game, but he won't play a part in it.
Great example, though, Harrison, this season, of he had to bide his time a little bit with Jack going so well, but since he's been in the side, he's been as reliable, as brilliant as you'd want.
Yeah, he's played very well. I think that's those characters, firstly, and they're the people that you build your culture on, but also the ones that have got a bit of experience and they're used to those periods of, right, I've got to wait my time will come. And then they know how to spend their time when they're out the team, which is work like a beast, because when your chance comes, you don't want to give it up. You want to be as fit as you can be to make that count. He's a great example to the others, and he always gets the most out of himself. He's obviously, it speaks for himself. He's been there forever and been such an important part of what we've done. And yeah, he's a big player. So he's had a very good season. He's played a lot of football. He obviously, in the beginning, he wasn't in at the start, but he's made the most of it, and he's put in some brilliant performances throughout.
With Jack, is he okay just to come in and play all of the minutes after his injury, or is that something that you have to keep an eye on?
He's got to be. So yes.
That solves that. With Sam Sherring and he'd been for a scan and an assessment. I think you were fearing probably that it would be season over for him. Where's he at?
Yeah, we had a consultation Tuesday, and they did a re-scan, which we're waiting for a report on today. So we don't know the outcome of, but they were very positive on Tuesday that it was not as bad as they thought the first time around. So until we get the absolute answers on that report, we don't want to speculate too much, but there was a real optimism coming out of that meeting that hopefully that isn't so bad. So we'll wait and see how that one fares in the next couple of days. I don't expect him to play in the next 2 games. But for him, it looks like it hopefully will be a short-term thing.
Is he one that you could keep in mind for next season? I suppose you'll be open-minded to a lot of players in that sort of situation, but is he one that you have in mind?
I think open-minded to anything. Yeah, I think with players we've had in loan, I've always liked players that I know and can trust and that have done well for us. So he's got a situation where he's somebody else's player in another club, so that needs to sort itself out first. And then we have to decide whether it's something we want to do or not. There's loads of moving parts to that, and lots of options between now and the end of the season, or in those first few weeks after the season, as to constructing the new squad. So I wouldn't want to speculate too much on that, other than to say I think he's done very well in the time that he's been here. It's been a really successful loan for him, and he's a diamond of a lad that everybody loves. So I'm sure whatever happens next for him, he'll do well.
And just to double check on the likes of James Brophy, Adam May out of the squad on Tuesday, was that just a case of the rotation and they're good to go?
Yeah, they're both fine. They'll be back in for the weekend. I think in both cases they've done an incredible amount of work, really. There was some others we wanted in the squad. And I mean, look, the worst part of the job is leaving people out of the team or leaving people out of the 18, because normally they're frustrated by it. But I think it's the first time in my life ever I told James Brophy he wasn't in the 18 Tuesday, and he said thanks. So I think that shows where he was physically after the Wigan game. So he can hopefully go into this weekend recharged and go and have another good push against another top team.
Cool, that's great from me.
Mark, I saw that Will made his debut over the weekend. What did you make of his performance?
He was very good. I think he was very assured. He looked like he'd played games before for us, made some good saves. His handling was good. His distribution was okay. His decision-making could have been slightly better at times, or his execution of certain bits, and particularly in the second half, he'll want to do a bit better. But I think overall, like for a debut, if you look like you've played there before, I mean, it was Lewis Simper against Morecambe, looked like he's played plenty of games. It's a testament to them and their mentality and preparation for those moments, but also to the team that you can just come in and slide in there and no real dramas. So yeah, really pleased with him. He's for someone who hasn't played, he's trained brilliantly, and he's deserved that. So yeah, we might see him again before the end of the season.
Do you feel like him being around such a quality goalkeeper like Dimitar, just seeing how he goes about his business, how he works, just how he plays, do you feel like that's also helped Will grow as a player?
Look, I think in the end you grow if you've got it in you to grow yourself. If you're talented and you've got the right work ethic, mentality, professionalism, you'll get better. And then if you're surrounded by other good players that can role model the behaviours and the performances you need, and then create a challenge, that's important. And then if you're part of a good environment that helps you blossom and get the best out of yourself, that's important. And if you've got good coaches that make you better, that's also important. So it's a combination of all of those things as to why he's improved. And you could probably look across our whole squad over 2 years and point to major improvements that a lot of people have made, a lot of players have made. I don't think it's a coincidence that the development of this team is what it is. I don't think it's a coincidence that individuals have developed like they have. And I don't think it's a coincidence that lots of players are having or have had the best spells of their careers. That's a testament to everybody and everybody's work. So yeah, we're really proud of that, and we need that to continue.
You're in 12th place, so you right now would finish in the top half of the table. Have you discussed with the player? I know you're obviously focused on this game and then the last match against Cheltenham, but has a top half finish been discussed? Well, what would that mean to you, to the club, in your first season at this level, to be able to finish in the top half?
It just looks nicer, doesn't it? I mean, the reality of what it means, it doesn't actually mean anything other than people getting excited and then thinking we should get promoted next year, which would be nonsense. But from us, the higher we can finish, the better, definitely. We'd love to finish in the top half, because when you're on the first page of every table that goes on the telly, it looks good. So there is a motivation to do that. We have talked about it, but at the same time, I've still changed the team around, and I still will. And we want that team to try and get performances. I think probably others are in the driving seat, probably Charlton. And let's be honest, if Charlton finished 12th, the top half is probably the top half. And I've talked about a league of 2 leagues. We want to try and win ours, really. So 12th or 13th would be an incredible finish for us. But whilst we're ambitious and we really do want to do that, if we do finish 14th, I'll still enjoy the summer and think we've had a brilliant year.
Yeah, I know you're obviously focused, as I said, on these last 2 matches, but if just your thoughts on next year being in this league and having Derby in this league. I know they're obviously a massive club and they're not down here yet, but they were relegated. Just to have another, like you're playing Sunderland this week, a team that's used to being in either the Premier League or the Championship, like Charlton, Ipswich, Wigan, the like, and just to have another team like Derby down in this division, do you have any, when you saw that they were relegated, did you have any thoughts on that?
Not really, only that the league just gets tougher, really, and the sense that some of those huge clubs won't be in the playoffs and won't get promoted. So I don't see the structure or the imbalance in this league changing. It will just be a few of the teams within it change. I mean, Derby have got their own issues that they're going through at the moment. If the takeover happens, they'll have big funds to go and have a real go at the league, and they'll want to get back in the Championship as soon as possible. So there'll be another big gun that are coming down. For us, the more big games, the better. The more big away days for supporters, the better. I think that's why we're here. It's what we want to. It's what we do it for. So, yeah, I think it's exciting. The bigger and better the league, the better the competition for us and the challenge. And we like a challenge. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Sunderland, tactically, what you mentioned that they made some changes. What do they do? What challenges do they present? What can you take away from the first match that maybe you can do in the second match, or maybe what they do that you'll have to stop in order to get the result that you want?
The first match is probably really difficult to lean on because of change of manager since they changed their system that day against us for the first time in weeks, and the weather was abysmal. So it'll be a very different challenge this time. But they're in a really good run of form. They're making themselves harder to beat. They like to dominate possession. They've got lots of attacking players that will make us defend. And we've got to hope we can find the weaknesses in that. But we'll have to be outstanding in our defensive structure because they're a team that want to dominate. And I think they'll see it as a game they have to win, firstly, and a game that they should win. And therefore, they'll probably come and really go for us. So we'll have to start well. We'll have to be in a really good position at the beginning of the game and make sure we're at our very best without the ball.
Great.
And then we're as clinical and as good with it as we were at Wigan.
Great, that's all.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark. On next year, given that you were kind of safe a number of weeks ago, have you been able to get ahead in terms of building your squad for next year?
Yeah, I think a lot of that work's been going on for months, really. It never stops, but the focus can shift a little bit. It's Ben's job, trying to do that work all year. We meet continually. Evolution of the squad is constant. So, yeah, that work's always ongoing, has been ongoing for quite a few months. And obviously, we pick up a little bit more attention towards that in recent weeks when things have changed. So, yes, lots of work going on there in terms of contract renewals, in terms of discussions with players that are ours or could be ours in the future, to try and make sure we're in a position to be as strong as we can next season.
Yeah, you mentioned about contract renewals and that side of things. Are you able at this stage to give any indication of how that might look at all in terms of how many players you might expect to be staying or leaving at this point?
Unfortunately, definitely not. So you'll get that news after the season once that's all been communicated and sorted with the players.
No worries. In terms of signings as well, are you able to give an indication at this stage as to how many signings you might look to make in the summer?
Not really, because a little bit will depend on the other bit first. But we certainly want to strengthen in every area of the squad, and we want a deeper squad and a stronger squad. So that's something that we're working on. And as and when we make that progress, we'll obviously let people know. But I think once the season's out of the way and we know where we are with our own players, we'll be a little bit clearer on exactly what we're after. And I'll be as open as I can be when we go along that. Obviously, quite a lot of that needs to be confidential. A million websites will throw up a million names that none of them are true, which is always great fun for everybody and much humour for the rest of us. And then we'll just try and build a team. We know we're going to have to add to the team. We know we're going to have to strengthen in terms of the depth of the squad because we have to keep moving forwards. But we like the consistency of a squad going into another year, and a lot of these boys are under contract, which is good.
Yeah, you mentioned about it there about having a stronger squad and a deeper squad in terms of the depth. Is that important to you? Because as we've spoken over the last couple of years, you've said that you've liked a small squad, but now's the time to make it a bit larger, do you think?
Well, not necessarily larger, just better. I think that's the key. You don't have to get bigger. You just got to get better all the time. More isn't always the answer. Just becoming stronger is really important. So if you're used to using 13, 14 players, we need to make sure we've got 18 or 19 that can come in and keep the team at the strongest level that we can. So the depth of the squad needs to be in its quality, not in its number.
And just on team news as well, is everyone good to go from Tuesday night? No additional injuries at all?
No problems from Tuesday, no. So everybody that played or has been involved is pretty much good to go.
And will Wes be in the squad having played 90 minutes?
You'll have to wait and see, Stephen, on that one, I'm afraid.
No worries. Thanks.